So where we last left off was at this invoice. We were able to create products and shirts and you can add different products with different quantities like 2 and stuff like that, and you could delete. The only problem now, or the next step, would be I want to be able to save this invoice. So as you can see, there is no save button here anywhere. So what I want to do is I want to just create a save button over here. It's a simple save button, nothing strange or nothing specific. I'm just going to add it here. Let me see, where's the thank you? I just want to add it on top of the thank you. Yes, okay. So you can probably find a better place to add this button, but I'm just going to add it here. Let me see. Okay, yeah, so as soon as you click on save invoice, it should save the invoice. So the first step would be to write a new function. So just like this one, we're gonna do a post request, not a get one. So let's start off with writing a new method called something like save invoice to database. Let's also do a const self equals this, and then also do a view axios dot post. I'd have to write a root for that still. Let's quickly write the root first. So let's write in one, it's root post. Let's call it invoice store invoice. Well, let's just call it store. I think that makes sense. Okay, so if I go to invoice and add store, so that's what I'm gonna call it. So I just have to make sure this method is inside my invoice controller over here. So what I usually do before I actually write the code in order to save the invoice or the item to the database, what I usually do is, because you are passing in variables to the function, you do a request, and what I usually do is I do input equals request all. Then I just die the values so I can see if the values I'm posting to this function is actually the right info. So what is the root? Okay, this is the root. Let's go to create post. I'm going to add it there. Like I said before, make sure there's a / in the start because this path is relative. All right, so now posting the values. So all I want to do is, honestly, I just want to post, let's post these 3 as well as invoice items because those are the most important. So yes, let me quickly do this. Then okay, so the first variable I want to pass through is invoice items. So I'm just going to call it this invoice items will be self.invoice items, and total price this is in the wrong place, sorry about that, it should be in here. I want to say it doesn't look right. Okay, total price will be self.total price, subtotal will be self.subtotal, and percentage price will be self.percentage price. Okay, so I'm just going to say var data equals response.data, and I'm just going to say console.log. I want to see what data gets returned. For now, let's just see what happens if I do this. Where's my save button? Yes, here it is. So I click. I just want to save the invoice. All right, so let's see what happens. Let's add 1 hat and 2 pants. And what happens if I store? Okay, so this is what got passed through. This is exactly what I want. Pretty nice. Always remember, let's quickly see where is my course assignment table. Remember how when I created the migration, I added it as integer, and this is wrong. If you work with a currency or any price, you should always make it a double. With double, you can actually add decimals. So if you go back to Laravel migrations, you add it like this, so it's going to be table double amount or whatever. Because the problem now is, as soon as I save something like $30.95, I think it will run it up to $31 and save it like that to the database, and that is not actually what we want. But I'm not going to change this for now. Just let you guys know, as soon as you work with any currency or price or amount that has decimal places, always use double, never integer. Okay, so I got a bit sidetracked there. Let me continue. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to loop through all the invoice items and create a new invoice. So what is the first thing we do? If I go back to create, sorry, not that, invoice controller. So as we can see, invoice items is invoice items. So I'm going to say invoice items equals input invoice items, or we can just simply do a for each loop, doesn't matter. But let's first create an invoice. So we have to reference it here, invoice. Like we said, invoice doesn't actually have any, oh yeah, you actually have the sub amount, percentage, and amount. So let's save that to the invoice. So invoice equals new invoice. Then invoice sub amount. Did I spell that correctly? Yeah, see, my spelling is horrible. It should be actually 2 M's as far as I know. Okay. Oh wait, maybe I did spell it correctly. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I spell correctly and I think I spelled incorrectly. Okay, so sub amount equals, and we wanted this value. Where is that value? Subtotal. So I can say it's input subtotal. So the other part is percentage equals input, and we want it percentage price. Okay, if this stayed consistent, it would have been better, but yeah. So, and when we have the total amount, so let's see, let's just call it amount. In the database it's just amount. Okay, and in the input it is total price, so we can save it as total price. Now, which is important, we have to save this first. Now the cool thing is, now we can do a for each loop for all the invoice items. So for each invoice input invoice items as, let's call it item. Okay, so if I go through this, I can now create invoice item equals new invoice item, and now invoice item, let's see, so the invoice ID will be this invoice ID. Let's see what is the next field, invoice item product ID. And if I see this should work well because it's the same invoice item product ID, invoice item product ID, so it should be item and then this. Next invoice item quantity equals item, and should be the same. Let's just make sure item. So if I look at this, yeah, it's also quantity. Invoice item price equals item and then we can just simply save. So with this logic, as soon as I press save, it should save. So let's see. Column, unknown column. So I did something wrong here. Sub amount. Wow, there I made a spelling mistake. I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I surprise myself. Okay, so let's see. And it looks like a success. I just didn't do anything to say success, but let's just say return. And that's all. Okay, so if we look at the database, it should have saved. Let's see. So yeah, there it saved, but nothing. So something went wrong. Oh yeah, because there's nothing inside here. So let's add a new product, pants. Let's make it 2, 3 hats, and that's all. Saint, okay, undefined index item. So obviously I did something wrong again. Oh yeah, I said here item. What? Why did they do that? So it should be quantity. Yeah, success true. Let's see if it's saved correctly. So yeah, there it is, 165.55220. And if I look at invoice items, yes, it's saved to invoice ID free, to quantity. Yeah, everything is correct. But what we want to happen now is that this button should disappear or say loading as soon as you click on it. So what I usually do and stuff like that is I have a loading here that says false. So as soon as I start uploading, like save, I just set this to true. Self.loading equals true, and after it's done by either successful or false, it should be self.loading equals false. And the same with under catch error. So even if it's an error, the loading should stop equals false. So what we can do is under save invoice, we can create another button that is exactly the identical, except for it doesn't have the add click, and I just say loading. So if loading equals false, then you should be able to save because it's not loading. Otherwise, else it should say loading. Okay, let's see if that works fine. This will be quick, but if I press save invoice, you will see for a short moment it will say loading. Now the problem is every time I click now save invoice, it creates a new invoice. But for now, that's all I wanted to do. But I want to navigate back as soon as I click on save invoice. So I'm just going to do something simple. As soon as I click on save invoice to database, and let's say data.success equals true. Obviously, if then window.location equals, let's just make it invoice. It's invoices. Let me just quickly make sure. And it's just invoice. So I want to navigate back to this page as soon as I saved the invoice. So let's see if that works. I'm just going to create one item, one pant, click here, save, and there it navigates back. Wow, very cool. So now it shows invoice 1, invoice 1, invoice 1. So let's just populate the correct invoice in here. So all I have to do now is create, it's actually an index. So unit index, all I want is equals invoice all, and then I just want to pass this through to the view file, so it's invoices. Okay, that's and this should be inside an array. Okay, so let's just do a for each loop here. So as and just say invoice and okay, let's see if that works. Yeah, so I have 10 invoices and it's nicely aligned here. And if I click on that, I'm not going to do this now. Maybe if you guys recommend it and you want to know, later on I might make a tutorial on how to edit this. But for now, this is all for this particular video. So in the next video, I will explain how the local storage works. And that is, the problem is now, as soon as you add items and for some reason you added a bunch of the stuff and you either lose connection or something happens and you have to refresh the page, then all the data is lost. So with local storage, you can actually then just make sure that everything is still there when you come back, and only, yeah, so basically like it remembers the data. But anyway, this is it for this video. I will see you in the next video.